Pakistan and United States will work together in developing Pakistan's vast oil reserve. Where these possible oil reserves are located in Pakistan?
As far as Pakistan is concerned, there were large reserves of oil in Pakistan, towards the southern part of Pakistan, and there were also large reserves of shale gas that was towards the midsection of Pakistan.
Why we have not been able to tap this huge potential, which can turn around Pakistan economy and ultimately can reduce our oil import bill?
Production of shale oil or shale gas was beyond Pakistan's companies, and therefore that remained dormant.
Should Pakistan take China into confidence before finalizing deal with Americans?
Consulting China, it will be very useful. And I think it will also be in the American interest for the stability of the project that China is made part of it.
Do you have any approximate or rough figure of oil and gas future investment potential in Pakistan that you talked about? You have been continuously talking about these shale oil and gas reserve. What is exact potential if it is properly tapped?
Well, if you talk about shale oil, the potential investment is almost $100 billion.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Hello and welcome to Program Insight in B News English. Dear viewer, very, very important development that Pakistan and United States have agreed on a deal under which United States of America will definitely invest in Pakistan in exploring Pakistan's vast oil reserves. The deal was not announced by Pakistan, but it was announced by US President Donald Trump. And he mentioned particularly Pakistan. And however, as far as the exploration is concerned, which company will explore this vast oil reserves, where these oil reserves are located, there is no mention. However, the American president said that a suitable company will be picked or selected for this purpose. The other details of this agreement have not been made public. Pakistani Finance Minister, Mr. Aurangzeb, along with Secretary Commerce and Pakistan's ambassador to United States, Ambassador Rizwan Saeed, were together in Washington for finalizing this particularly deal between Pakistan and United States. And that also talks about fixation of tariffs for Pakistani exports to United States. At what bracket these tariffs have been fixed between Pakistan and United States, that has also not been disclosed. But however, this is quite big disclosure that United States will tap Pakistan's vast oil reserves. Where these oil reserves are located, any initial study has been done since how long? What is Pakistan's potential in oil exploration, oil, gas, and mineral? Because Americans are also interested in tapping Pakistan's mineral resources as well. But in today's conversation, we will focus on oil reserve that American president has talked about. To discuss this all, we are fortunate to have with us one of the most seasoned oil and gas expert analyst, former chairman Pakistan's Oil and Gas Development Authority, Dr. Gulfraz Ahmed Khan. Dr. Gulfraz also served as Federal Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum, and he has a huge experience of this particular field, oil, gas, reserves, energy, and these things. Dr. Gulfraz, a very warm welcome to our program Insight in B News English.
Thank you very much.
So, Dr. Saab, you might have gone through these all reports, and Pakistani political leadership, including Prime Minister and the President, have also made several statements on this deal reached between Pakistan and United States, under which, Pakistan and United States will work together in developing Pakistan's vast oil reserve. I would like to know that where these possible oil reserves are located in Pakistan, and any initial study has been conducted. Dr. Gulfraz.
It was around about 2010 that USGS, United States Geological Survey, had put out a global report in which they identified the shale oil gas reserves all over the world. And as far as Pakistan is concerned, they were very upbeat. They did indicate that there were large reserves of oil in Pakistan, toward the southern part of Pakistan, and there were also large reserves of shale gas that was toward the midsection of Pakistan. So after that report came out, Pakistan at its level did try to follow up that report, and within the capacity of its own company, they did try to explore, but production of shale oil or shale gas was beyond Pakistan's companies, and therefore that remained dormant. Now that American president and American government has picked up the interest, they have full report of USGS, and because of that report, they would know exactly which is the bright spot as far as oil and gas are concerned. And if they assign that to a company which is already experienced in shale oil and gas exploration and production, I think it shouldn't take too long. And if the production capacity is such that it goes beyond Pakistan's internal needs, then it would be a happy combination to export that thing to America.
So far, whatever is announcement made by American President Donald Trump through his social media post, there has been no mentioning of company. But as you said, that there might be a company selected for this purpose. As you said, that this initial survey was done in 2010. So why it took again almost 15 years for the Americans to finalize deal? Why didn't they take this interest in early years?
I think United States was concentrating essentially on exploiting the oil they were producing, shale oil they were producing within United States, essentially in the southern states. And now that they are coming towards the low end of that reserve, they may have started looking at where else did they identify the shale oil and gas, and Pakistan must have come very much attractive target.
Dr. Saab, as you said that there are two types. One is oil reserves, and also there are huge gas reserves. And as you said, that is in the southern Pakistan. Mostly it is in Balochistan. And mostly it would be in coastal areas close to the Arabian Sea. So give your assessment. I heard that you also headed that project first. Please share details. When you headed that project conducted what type of study or survey, or what was the finding of those oil and gas reserves?
There was, during a previous tenure of this government, they had developed a task force. And I was heading the task force. So,
which year it
as
was?
a result of that,
which year it was?
I think it was something like the first government of Nawaz Sharif. It must be something like 2013, 14.
Okay, got it. Please continue.
And yes, and at that time, the report which was put out by USGS, United States Geological Survey, it did identify oil was identified in southern part of Sindh, and gas was identified in middle section of Sindh and Balochistan. So oil was reserved essentially in the southern part of Sindh, maybe close to the coastal area. And the identification of natural gas was over a larger section of Pakistan's geology that was little bit northern part of Sindh and maybe extending into Punjab. but it did not really go into Baluchistan. So after the identification was made, and the previous government of Mr. Nawaz Sharif, they wanted to do something about it, and there was a task force nominated by Mr. Iqbal, who was, I think, heading um, most probably was heading the task force, and in that they nominated me, and I had a few other people included with me, and we started doing a little bit of work. But then after that, we found out that there was no capacity within Pakistan oil and gas companies, and we could not strike interest with foreign companies, and therefore that project fizzled out. However, Pakistan's own companies like the
PPL, OGDCL.
OGDCL, they did carry out their own effort, and they did drill some wells, and they were able to get to the target areas, but it was beyond their capacity, because if you want to produce shale oil, shale gas, you have to be constantly drilling new wells. Because these wells, they have very small yield, but they produce for a long time, and therefore you keep drilling new wells. That is a very high expense undertaking, and that is why none of Pakistani indigenous companies were able to carry it through.
What is estimated, since you headed that project, you have been closely monitoring, what are the rough estimates of the oil and gas reserves separately? At least that study, I'm sure that could have been completed.
No, the study was not completed within Pakistan. We only used the USDA study, which they had shared with us and they shared globally. And in that, they had only indicated approximate reserves, and by the token of those reserves, it could be a few billion barrels of oil if it is totally exploited. But as I told you,
few billion barrels. To be corrected again, few billion barrels.
It could be a few billion barrels, but unless you're able to exploit it completely, and that means drilling hundreds and hundreds of producing wells, and that would be a very, very large financial undertaking, and only a company of very large capacity with the experience which the Americans have with shale oil and shale gas, they can undertake.
And what about gas reserves?
Gas reserves are also, I think, a few trillion cubic feet, and that gas reserves spread over a larger area of central Pakistan and maybe southern Pakistan.
So I would like to ask you that, since you have been at the highest level in policy making level, you headed OGDCL for a long time. So, and you continuously not only followed, but you have been part of consultation, policy making. Where Pakistan stands now in terms of oil and gas, other than few companies which are Pakistani one, like Petroleum and Gas, OGDCL, PPL. So these all different studies, including this American Geological Survey, and number of times OGDCL has also carried out survey. But true potential, as you mentioned, it could be in billions of barrels of oil. So why we have not been able to tap this huge potential, which can turn around Pakistan economy and ultimately can reduce our oil import bill? Dr. Saab, yes.
I want to tell you this thing, that conventional oil and gas, we are very limited now. In fact, the very large reserves of natural gas that we had, we kept producing it from middle of 1950s, and we have now come pretty close to the bottom edge of the natural gas in the country. That is why we were thinking of exploring the shale gas, and because the potential within the country to explore shale gas was very limited. So once and twice, OGDC and maybe Mari Petroleum and the other company that you just named, they did try to get together and jointly try to assess the exploration of oil and gas. But they could not actually get to the oil and gas, and therefore that potential which exists of oil and gas, shale oil and gas in Pakistan, that remains hidden so far.
So, Dr. Sir, while this deal completely has not been made public, this deal between Pakistan and United States, but as an expert of the industry and as an expert of oil and gas, what do you suggest that what point Pakistan should take care while if there is any documented deal finally that American investment should only be in exploration, or they will be having rights to even take away the crude oil, or even the gas they will be discovering, they will be taking away, or that will be the right of Pakistan. Do you think these things should be negotiated well?
Yes, they should be very well negotiated. They should be first understood. First of all, the exploitation of shale oil and shale gas are very different from conventional oil and conventional gas. In this case, exploitation is inherent with the exploration and production. So, once a company drills a well to start producing, then they keep drilling the production wells for the life of the field. And that is very extended period of time, and that requires ongoing investment. Although, as you start producing oil, you start getting the return, but for some time, there is a fair amount of investment on the upfront, and after the production starts, and after you are able to identify your markets, etc., only then the returns come. So this is a question of big undertaking, and I think only the US companies, which have a great experience of producing shale oil and shale gas, and those who have made a lot of money from shale oil and gas, they would have the capacity to invest in Pakistan and also jointly take care of Pakistan's interest and their own interest.
That's great. And so already Pakistan has limited oil refineries. We have one oil refinery in Mahmood Court, and we have been watching, listening reports that a Middle Eastern country was interested in setting up often huge oil refinery somewhere in Gwadar. Although MOU was signed, but that has not been materialized. How important is the investment in refinery sector? If these huge oil reserves are discovered, then of course it could be locally refined as well. So how important is investment in other than exploration in oil refinery?
I do agree that if we do start producing Pakistan's own oil, the shale oil, then we should at least be able to refine to the extent of our refined oil need, which is up to something like 4 to 4.5 lakhs barrels daily, whereas the present refining capacity is only about around a lakh plus. So refining would be needed, but as the project that you alluded to, the Middle Eastern interest in setting up refinery in Gwadar, I don't take it seriously. I think if it materializes, it will take very long time.
Then what do you think as an energy expert in the days to come, the countries are putting their vehicles towards e-system, I mean electric charging system. But do you think despite this gradual shift on electric charging, Pakistan's huge transportation sector still need oil? And of course, the large vehicles are still using this diesel, and then cars and small transportation is using petroleum. So there is a shift towards electric charging. But despite these all things and initiatives taken by the government, do you think that Pakistan is still dependent on massive use of oil?
There is a technological trend towards electric systems, electric charging, and it's becoming more and more or less, more and more accessible. It's also becoming, in terms of cost, it is also becoming affordable. But considering the large number of vehicles in the country, it will take a long time to transform the existing petrol and diesel vehicles onto electricity. So that transition period would at least extend, to my mind, 10 to 15 years. And during that 10 to 15 years, we need to have a arrangement of providing oil, which should be, in terms of cost, very accessible.
Over the last many years, in the present government and then the previous PMLN government, I mean, that was PDM government, and during last political government, almost in last one decade, we have been watching, listening the statements by Pakistani leadership, by successive Pakistani prime ministers, that there should be investment in Pakistan's oil and gas sector. There is a huge potential. Quite recently, if I'm not wrong, there was also an exhibition in a Middle Eastern country, probably in UAE. And then in Central Asia, there is also a huge potential of investment. Pakistan is looking keenly at Azerbaijan. Azerbaijan could also come. So finally, the question is that has Pakistan attracted foreign investment into the oil and gas sector? And if so, what is the significant progress? What is the current volume of investment in Pakistan's oil and gas sector?
Pakistan had started with the foreign investment as far as exploration in mid-50s is concerned. And the thing that the large mega fields like Sui were with the foreign company based in England. But later on, as the production from Sui gas field, which was something like 15 trillion cubic feet of gas, which is massive amount of gas. But as the Sui gas field production started reducing, our capacity to produce oil and gas within the country became very marginal. Although oil we never produced in a significant quantity, but natural gas also became marginal. And that is the time when we started looking towards shale oil and gas potential. And at one point, all three companies, OGDC, PPL, and Mari Petroleum, they joined together and they thought if they could undertake the shale oil production. But it was also beyond them, and that remained a unrealized potential. But I think the only country in the world which has the largest successful experience of production of shale oil and shale gas is United States of America. Even China, despite the fact that they undertook major effort, they did not succeed to produce shale oil or gas at a scale. So maybe there's some experience in Canada, but United States companies have
larger portfolio,
length of experience, and they could, if they want to bring their expertise and also they want to make their investments, and if they strike a fair deal with Pakistan, then Pakistan is also kept in mind, then I think this could be a successful undertaking.
Dr. Sab, since the major beneficiary of China-Pakistan economic corridor is Balochistan, Gwadar International Airport was developed with the Chinese assistant Gwadar Port, and the road connectivity and all major CPAC routes from Balochistan to KP and up to Source border. China has invested huge in Pakistan. So, what do you think? And now Pakistan is expected to give space to the Americans in Balochistan. Do you think on this very, very strategically important initiative, Pakistan should take China into confidence before finalizing any deal? Because there is already a Chinese presence in Balochistan in solar energy projects, in yes, Gwadar and number of others. So should Pakistan take China into confidence before finalizing deal with Americans, because China might be having certain reservations to be corrected.
Yes, actually, China is a partner in our future, and they have invested very heavy in our infrastructure, with the hope that as this infrastructure is needed and utilized, that China will also be able to benefit from it. So consulting China, it'll be very useful. And I think it will also be in the American interest for the stability of the project that China is made part of it.
That's indeed, of course, China should be consulted. Now coming to policy side, are you satisfied with the existing policy framework as far as oil and gas exploration in Pakistan is concerned? Also, you share your thoughts that what is the status of current policy on oil and gas exploration in Pakistan? Do you think it's the latest policy or it needs immediate revision now?
Your question is whether I am satisfied as a long-term professional in oil and gas. True. I would wish a greater momentum in the oil and gas sector, and we should ourselves undertake the geological surveys through some international consultants and try to upgrade the study which Americans had carried out, so that we have a better knowledge of what is where. So, no, I don't think that I'm satisfied about the assessments within the country of the latest surveys.
So finally, Dr. Saab, I would like to seek your comment on another area which is closely connected to oil and gas. Whenever oil and gas discoveries, minerals are also a very near area. So recently in April, we have seen Islamabad hosted a huge mineral investment summit in Islamabad. So what are your thoughts? Currently, United States of America is taking deep interest in getting rare earth minerals from around the world. And for that, Americans are quite keen in finalizing deal. They have also expressed same interest in tapping Pakistan's mineral sector. So please throw some light on this sector as well, mineral reserves in Pakistan.
In Pakistan, the Ministry of Petroleum and Mineral Resources is combined. And therefore, I was Federal Secretary of Petroleum as well as
Natural Resources. True.
And the natural resources. And whatever, for example, when we had the Ricodic finding, and at that time, the project was moved along. A company had been given the contract to go ahead, but unfortunately, some difficulties developed, with the result that project had to be cancelled. And it is in the process of now being given to maybe some indigenous companies, petroleum-related, mineral-related companies who would make proportionate investment. So our Ricodic project, which is the largest copper project in the country, that has yet to see the light of the day. There's only a smaller project, which is currently a Chinese company is exploiting, but that's a very small thing. They don't have a refinery, so they only produce blistered copper, and they sell blistered copper without taking out the precious minerals like silver and gold from that. So until we are able to make a serious effort and serious movement on Ricodic, which is the world-class project, we will not be able to start exploiting our mineral resources.
Last, I would like to seek your one sentence. What's Pakistan's future and the roadmap in oil, gas, and minerals? How we can tap it properly and turn around Pakistani economy?
Well, as far as in oil and gas and minerals is concerned, in one word, we need to put in very, very top class effort. This is the stage of putting an effort. We still are not able to get the returns because shale oil and shale gas, we have no experience, although there's plenty of it. And as far as minerals are concerned, like Rico did, we have located the minerals 20 years ahead, 20 years earlier, and yet we have not seen the light of the day. So I would say that in this area, oil, gas, and mineral, we have to put in the real effort. Some sort of brainstorm needs to be done with some people who are old hands. They should be included in the brainstorm, and some stimulation of national effort needs to be chalked out.
Finally, say that do you have any approximate or rough figure of oil and gas future investment potential in Pakistan that you talked about? You have been continuously talking about these shale oil and gas reserve. What is exact potential if it is properly tapped?
Well, if you talk about shale oil, the potential investment is almost $100 billion.
$100 billion.
That will require $100 billion. That will require something like 50,000 wells, and 50,000 wells constantly producing. So when you have 50,000 wells constantly producing, then you will start getting some return and start making large scale money. You will also be able to export the oil beyond what we need within the country.
Thank you so much indeed, Dr. Gulfraz Ahmed Saab, former Federal Secretary, Ministry of Petroleum and Natural Resources, and a long-term serving chairman of Oil and Gas Development Company of Pakistan. As a seasoned expert in Pakistan's oil, gas, and natural resources sector, for sharing his thoughts and very strategic analysis on this latest development, Pakistan and United States deal, under which both countries, Pakistan and United States, will work together in tapping Pakistan's huge oil reserves. Thank you so much once again for spending time.
Please. Want to change that. America is the most experienced country in the world in exploitation of shale oil and gas. Pakistan has not got any experience. So it is very important that America takes Pakistan's expectations along, and they are fair to us. Otherwise, very soon, after some time, some difficulties could emerge.
Thank you so much again. Once again, Dr. Gulfraz Ahmed Saab, and dear viewers, till our next program, goodbye and Khuda Hafiz from Studios.